My name is Tom. Get yourself a cup of coffee. It's raining today, so I'm up here in the reloading room. I haven't done a rant video in a while, but believe it or not, the rant videos really do the best. So, you crazy people, you like it when I guess an old-time Mainer starts just plain letting it roll off his tongue. I'm going to talk about solar panels, wind farms. I'm going to rant on that for a while because the state of Maine is really drinking the Kool-Aid as far as listening to all the crap that's coming down the turnpike about solar panels. Get this in your head, people. Solar panels are not the answer to the electrical grid problem. They are not the answer to the electrical grid for your electric car. Your electric car has no business being in the state of Maine. Get this in your head. Electric cars have no business being in the state of Maine. I do not care how many political scientists tell you that this is it, this is what we got to do, this is the way we're going to go. Listen to people that have some common sense and have lived in the cold weather climates. Batteries do not work at 20 below zero. Now, granted, we've had 2 seasonably warm winters. That does not mean that we are in a global warming pattern. This is not the first time that the state of Maine has had no snow. I've lived here since I was born. I've seen other winters with very little snow. I've seen other winters that were very mild. I've seen other winters with no snow. We can go back in the few years that I've been around. Back in the 1970s, there was 2 winters in a row with no snow. Nobody was talking about global warming those 2 winters with no snow. As a matter of fact, back in the early 70s, they were talking about global cooling with just as much gusto as they're talking about global warming now. It's political science. That's all it is. Back in the early 1900s, we had another global warming heat up. If you want to talk about that, it's just the way the atmosphere is. Back in the early 1900s, we went through a warm spell. We went through a drought. We went through all of that stuff. It's just plain weather. Go back before that. You go back to the 1800s, they had the same thing. I forget what years it was. They had the same identical thing. They had a warm spell. That things was out of whack. Go back to I think it was back in the 1400s, 1500s. They had the exact same thing. These political scientists don't want to tell you about that. All they want to tell you about is global warming, global warming, global warming. It all started with Al Gore and his book. Well, Al Gore and his book didn't have a clue what they were talking about then, and they don't have a clue what they're talking about now. And then you had Greta flying around the world, being the talking mouthpiece for the global huggers. That's all it is. She was flying around the world in the private jet, just like all the rich people are doing. What do you think they're up to? Right now, you got the political scientists scaring the hell out of you about global warming. You've got all these rich people now trying to take away your fossil fuel automobiles and force you into an electric vehicle that's not going to work. You've also got the government working on look at that farmer that's in Pennsylvania, the Amish farmer that's in Pennsylvania fighting for the right to grow his own food. Now, I'm not in Pennsylvania following that, but here's the federal government has taken an Amish farmer to court over growing his own food. What do you think is coming? They want the ability to control absolutely every aspect of your life. And if they can get you to have an automobile that plugs into the side of the house, they've got you by the gonads. And I'm not talking about I'm talking about the federal government. I'm talking about the local government in your own state. The government that we have here right now in the state of Maine is drinking the Kool-Aid that this is all good and good for everybody. No, it's not. Because once they have the ability to pull the plug from the street, from a switch in an office, they control every aspect of your life. Right now, they do not have to come out to your house to take you off the electrical grid. They can do it all from an office building where the power comes from. Right on the computer. Now your house doesn't have electricity. They can do the same thing with your electricity when things start, like we just went through the COVID crap where the local government took on great big powers that they were going to be bigger. We're going to tell you how to do it. Well, look where that all went. Like I said, this is going to be a rant video. It's going to be open your eyes up. Open your eyes up, people, and use some common sense. They're trying to get you to knuckle under, and then they will have full, complete control over your life. And if they can take away our fossil vehicles, then they've got you. Now they not only control the power to your house, but they also control your transportation. If they can control your transportation, what else in your life can they control? And in the same list, they're trying to control where you get your food, how you get your food. If you don't think so, I saw a thing back in the wintertime where the government is trying to get you to register your garden with the federal government, and they will give you a sticker and tell you how great it is that you have registered your garden with the federal government. Think that through, people. Why do you think the federal government is trying to get you to register your garden? You thinking? You thought it through? It's just like they get us to register our rifles, and they want a registry on everything. We don't, right now, we have to fill out 3 pages of paperwork to buy a rifle or a pistol. We don't have to register them yet. But you don't think that they want you to, do you? Because if they can control every aspect of your life, then you are no longer self-reliant, and you are no longer independent of the government. Why do you think the government dislikes the self-reliant people? They don't want us to be self-reliant. And I'm talking about the Democrats here. Let's call it for what it is. The Democrats and the libertarians. They don't want you to be self-reliant. They don't want you to be self-employed. They want you to be dependent upon the U.S. government for all of your needs from the time you were born until the time they put you in the ground. Well, being a self-reliant Mainer for my entire life, I don't think that's the way that you should be going. You should always maintain control in your life to be able to control putting food on your table, to be able to control where you can drive in this country. You need to get around if you're going to be putting especially wild food on your table. You need to go from point A to point B. You don't need to have Uncle Sam looking over your shoulder in absolutely everything that you do. And I don't care how many people tell you that this is wrong, and it is wrong. It is not wrong for you to be self-reliant, independent, and stand on your own 2 feet. That's why they call it Independence Day. This country fought to be independent of England, so that we wouldn't have to be treaded on by England and by the taxes and everything else that goes along with it. You don't want to become a walking mat for people that do have money and the people that, hey, you know what I'm saying. They fly around the country in their private jets and they tell you you can't be driving a fossil fuel car. While meantime, they're flying around the world in their private jets. Let me tell you what, I would bet you dollars to donuts that all those private jets that they're flying around in on our behalf, creates a whole lot more footprint than all of the cars combined. And it's absolutely ridiculous to think that this country can run on electric vehicles. If you live in Florida, if you live in California, if you live in Arizona, that might work. But if you live anywhere that gets snow and snow on the roads and cold temperatures, I can guarantee you, you are going to be walking down the street because that electric vehicle is not going to work when the temperature drops. You don't have to take my word for it. Talk to the people across this country last winter that got stranded in their electric vehicles. Watch a few videos. The batteries wouldn't take a charge. The cars were being towed from one charging station to another. And here's another one. You go off the road and you get stuck in this state. You could go off the road and get stuck on a snowbank and be 100 miles from help, depending on what road you're in. And you could be on hot top. There's areas up here where it's 60, 70 miles in between houses. You could get out there and get stranded, and all you've got is this electrical vehicle to keep you warm all night. Well, what do you think is going to happen if you sit there and let the heater run all night and the fan run all night? That battery that you're sitting on, that thing's going to be flat, and you're going to be frozen. So think that through. The next time you say, oh, maybe. You see, the people that want electric cars, they really don't go anywhere, and they really don't do anything. Those people that want electric cars, they buzz around the little town, little city and say, oh, it does so good. But they're not really doing anything of any importance. Because if you've got to travel 150 or 200 miles, and some people that work have to travel that many miles in a week, we have lots of jobs that are like that. Those people that are loving their little car, they're not really doing anything. It's a play toy to them. It's a play toy. Now, I told you at the beginning of this video, this was going to be a rant video. Well, it was a rant video. So use some common sense. Start fighting against these fools that are trying to shove this stuff down our throats and tell us it's good for us. It's not good for us. Use some common sense. Use your brain and start voting these people out of office. They do not have your best interest at heart. So have a cup of coffee, and I will see you next week.